What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the two new upcoming packages, the physical infrastructure package known as the American Jobs Plan, and the next stimulus package known as the American Families Plan. Also, what's going on in the world today. Hope you had a fabulous Mother's Day yesterday. Happy Mother's Day. Let me know what you did, if you did anything special. We had family come over. My mom, Laurel's mom, and my brother, and yeah, just kind of had a little get together for Mother's Day. Also, something I'm very proud of that we announced last night is our channel just hit 100 million views. That's right, our channel just crossed 100 million views. I can't even believe that. It's actually crazy for me to even try to picture that. When I think about like the Cleveland Brown Stadium, I'm from Ohio. It seats less than 100,000 people. This is 100 million views. So yeah, it's been an absolute wild ride. It's been my pleasure to be here with you every day, celebrating the highs and the lows of everything going on with our country, all the stimulus that has come out and coming out in the near future. I'll keep you up to date on everything coming out. Thank you guys so much for joining the channel, watching every day, subscribing. We're almost up to 350,000 subscribers as well. But our view count is actually amazing. We have more views than a lot of channels that have millions of subscribers. So thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. And let's jump into today's episode. Okay, first up, there is a large gas pipeline, a fuel pipeline, that has been hacked via ransomware on the east coast of the United States. And they're suspecting that it's actually a group of from Russia that has hacked this gas pipeline that is currently shut down. As you can see here on this picture, how many different states it covers, and this is already affecting gas prices, at least on the southern and the east coast, with gas prices rising significantly due to this hack. From basically, it's shut down the pipelines. It's kind of crazy. And this gas company named Colonial Pipeline actually supplies 45% of the gas to the East Coast. So this is a major deal. And apparently this is what they're saying is this is starting to happen more and more often for various different businesses. And this is kind of like part of the business landscape of what we have to deal with nowadays. It's kind of crazy. Let me know your thoughts on this. They're still working to get this back up. And the longer this takes, the more it's going to hurt gas prices, as gas prices will rise for gasoline. And the longer it takes, the worse off this will be for gas prices. So let's hope they, A, get it fixed, and B, it doesn't happen again. And they try to put some preventative measures in here to prevent this from happening again. But really, this is just one East Coast pipeline. This could happen anywhere in the United States, and it's really just kind of one thing that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, at least with the security of our country. And especially if this does turn out to be from a Russia group, we could see President Biden put more sanctions on Russia and their President Putin, as the President Biden has already done that. We went over that probably about a month ago. How he actually has sanctions in place against them right now for what President Biden claims is they have actual evidence that they interfered in the last election, and now this again. If this comes from Russia and they can prove it, we may see more sanctions and further putting more strain on us and Russia. As if we don't have enough strain between Russia and China right now with us as a country. This could be a big week for the next infrastructure package and the American Families Plan, the next stimulus package, as really they're coming down to the wire here to decide. Well, number one is the physical infrastructure package. They're currently going to be meeting with the Republicans this week to hopefully finalize whether or not they're going to get Republican support or if they're going to move on and pass the next package with the reconciliation process without Republicans. I personally think that's what's going to happen, as in the Democrats are going to end up passing this next package, the infrastructure package, and the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, through reconciliation and without Republicans. One, I think that because, well, I just live and breathe this stuff every day, so I just have my finger on the pulse of what's going on. I think that the Democrats and the Republicans are way too far apart. In fact, we've even seen Republicans say that, as Republicans have announced their counter proposal, which is 75% lower than what the Democrats want. It's only about $600 billion or a little bit less than that. The Democrats want 2.2 to 2.3 trillion dollars for the infrastructure package alone, and another 2 to 2.2 trillion dollars for the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan. That is really subject to change, as there's about 15 different items of what they're proposing to be in this next stimulus package. There's about 100 different Democrats that are pushing for a fourth stimulus check, but not just the fourth stimulus check, a monthly stimulus check. You know, we have the two different bills. The bill from the House that is $1,000 per month and would go until 1 year after the pandemic is declared over. So probably 18 months there on an average. And the Senate bill, which is $2,000 per month, which is only until the pandemic is declared over. So probably 6 months at the absolute minimum there. Remember, the pandemic, it's really it's really tough. Every day we kind of hear different stories. Like, we see a lot of Republican governors right now with states that are completely opening up their states. They're getting rid of mask restrictions. They're opening all their businesses, no restrictions at all. And on the other hand, we have cases for the virus, positive cases, and global deaths worldwide are literally at an all-time high right now. So it's kind of a tale of two stories. And Dr. Fauci keeps warning about these new variants that are coming in, and that the variants are worse than the original strain. And the vaccine was based on the original strain, and that isn't even the dominant strain anymore. And they're saying we're now going to have to get booster shots for vaccine, and you're possibly going to have to get yearly shots every year, similar to a flu vaccine. And I personally don't think that the virus is going to go away for quite some time. And I think the economic crisis is going to be around for quite some time also. Here is Senator Bernie Sanders, who's the Senate budget chairman and also President Biden's right hand man, and really one of the leading candidates on more stimulus, more stimulus, more stimulus in this next package. And here's him talking about the next two packages.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is chair of both the Senate Budget Committee and the Senate Democratic Outreach Committee, and he joins me now. Senator, you're someone who I think shares with your colleagues. There's a lot of big substantive stuff you want to do on workers' rights and the PRO Act, which would be the strongest change to labor law probably since the New Deal, on climate, on healthcare, all that stuff, right? And then there's the more structural reform areas. And I wonder if you see them in competition for prioritization or floor time, or what that looks like from your perspective in the caucus.
Well, the answer is yes, they are in competition. There's a limited amount of time. We have 50-50 tie in the Senate. I think in the House, they're up by 3 or 4 votes, so we can't make any mistakes. But what I do think, Chris, is at this moment, what is the right thing to do policy-wise makes very good politics, and that is to continue Biden's effort to be bold, to go big. So if we, in the next several months, can create millions of good-paying jobs by finally rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, if finally we deal with the existential threat of climate change, which is not only the right thing to do in terms of the future of the planet, it also can create millions of jobs. If we can do what has never been done, Chris, and that is take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry. They have never lost. They could double the price of your medicine tomorrow, totally legal. If we can take them on and go to the American people and say, you know what, we reduced your prescription drug cost by 50%. And by the way, because we've negotiated prescription drug prices with Medicare, which every other country in the world does, we're going to have enough money to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing aids, eyeglasses, and lower Medicare eligibility age to 60. You are right about the structural problems that we face. But right now, if we can do those policy initiatives, a lot of people in this country are going to be nodding their heads say, you know what, that's pretty good. Maybe I'm going to vote for the Democrats.
That is one of the interesting proposals to be in this next package. Senator Bernie Sanders, as we went over yesterday, wants to increase Social Security. There's a very good video on that I'll link you to at the end of this video. You should really watch that if you're interested in Social Security raises and more money per month for Social Security beneficiaries. But also he wants to raise Medicare, and we can simply do this by forcing the pharmaceutical companies to give us the same prices that they charge for prescription drugs to other countries. If they're giving it to other countries like Canada and the United Kingdom and Australia, these aren't like little third world countries or something that would for some reason get prices way less. These are countries that are literally either our allies or in competition with us. If they're getting drug prices for 50% or more less, in some cases 90% less, there's no reason the United States should be paying 10 times more in some cases for insulin and inhalers and life-saving prescription drugs. I think they absolutely need to put that in this next package. They need to figure out the wording that's probably some very complex wording on a law to force these corporations to, pharmaceutical corporations to give it to us at the same price. But I think that if and however they find a way, remember Senator Bernie Sanders has been in the Senate for like 30 some years. He's the Senate budget chairman. You tend to think that he would know what he's talking about. So if he says they can do this, they need to do it. They need to figure out the exact wording so that they can do it, and these companies can't get out of it. There's no loopholes for them. That would save the U.S. government about $500 billion, $500 billion a year, every single year. And they can use that money to expand Social Security and expand Medicare and give additional benefits or additional money per month on Social Security simply without having to raise any taxes, just by forcing these pharmaceutical companies to give us the same price that they charge other countries. In addition to the government saving money, think about the billions and billions and billions of dollars that the American people would save. Now, of course, it wouldn't be $1 billion for each one of us because nobody pays $1 billion for their medicine, but collectively we pay trillions of dollars for our medicine. So imagine if you could, I've seen a lot of your comments, you have to buy inhalers that are $400 or $500. I have inhalers because I have had asthma since I've been a teenager. And I know people on insulin spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on insulin. Imagine if for insulin, you were able to get it for 90% less. And that is actually what they could do. I remember seeing the chart from Bernie Sanders that insulin is made for $6 a vial. In fact, here it is. One vial of insulin costs $6 to manufacture, and they're selling it to the United Kingdom and to Australia for $7, and yet they're selling it to the United States for $98 per vial on average. And you can actually pay more than that when it comes to middlemen like the pharmacies having to take their cut because they have overhead, they have employees, they have buildings to pay for. And this can come out to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars, sometimes just for a single vial, and they're making it for $6. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. Senator Bernie Sanders says go big on this next package.
I think that seems to me a perfectly persuasive or at least defensible theory of the case, right? That if you do good stuff, if life gets better, particularly when you think about how dark, how really awful, particularly December, January of this past year were in so many ways, the sheer level of death and suffering and the insurrection, all that stuff. But there's also just this question of when you look at that chart we showed, midterms are tough for the party in power, just is the case. And you were down in Kentucky recently, right? I think over the weekend, trying to sort of take the fight to McConnell. I guess the approach has to be you do the best you can and hope that if you govern well, you're rewarded politically, right?
Well, the answer is yes, but your point is absolutely true as well. Look, we are fighting. Let's be clear. The debate now with the Republican Party, it's not over healthcare or education or climate. It is whether or not we remain a democracy. Yeah. All across this country, unprecedented, vicious and ugly voter suppression efforts are taking place. And we've got to deal with that. H.R. 1, which is a very significant piece of legislation, which makes certain that we will not have voter suppression, deals with billionaires buying elections, deals with excessive gerrymandering. We've got to pass that. Yep. We've got to pass that. That has to do with the future of American democracy. But we got to be moving in a dozen different directions. We got to be moving hard.
So yeah, if the Democrats lose even one seat in the Senate or even a few seats in the House, as they've already been losing seats, they lost, I think, 4 seats to the new census. 4 seats are going to go to Republican states in the new census from the new census for the next election from the House of Representatives. Plus, there's been a couple Democrats from the House that have died or resigned, retired. So their lead for the next election is almost going to be gone. Of course, the next election, everybody's up for re-election in the House, so it'll depend on what happens. And the Senate, about 1/3 of senators are up for re-election every 2 years. Senators serve 6-year terms, remember. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was just re-elected for another 6-year term. Mitch McConnell is currently 79 years old, which means his term will go until he's 85. If he even runs again, if he's elected again, he'll go, and if he wins again, he'll go till he's 91 years old. Both Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi from the House for the Democrats won their reelection campaigns this past election by landslides. Mitch McConnell's was a little bit close. Nancy Pelosi's reelection campaign wasn't even close. I think it was like 80% to 20%. They both just keep getting reelected year after year after year. But let me know, do you think the Democrats are going to be able to maintain control of the House and the Senate this next time around? Literally, if they lose even one vote, again, in the overall scheme of the election, if they lose a couple seats to the Republicans in either the House or the Senate, then they won't have their majority around. And that's why it's going to be so important for the Democrats to pass these next 2 stimulus packages. Any other packages, as yes, they're already talking about another package after this, as well as the Social Security raises and Medicare raises. They're going to need to get all of that done before the next midterm elections, which is in about a year or so. So they got the next year to get all of this stuff done while they have the opportunity, or else if the Republicans can take control of the House or the Senate, it's going to be a different landscape. And it's not that I'm Republican or I'm Democrat. I'm just bringing you guys the truth here. When Mitch McConnell was in control of the Senate, it was a totally different game, totally different ball game, because they couldn't pass bills with the reconciliation. So they actually have kind of the opportunity to pass as much stimulus as they want here, as much Social Security changes, reform increases as they want here. They have as much opportunity to increase Medicare and have these additional benefits, to give that 2 years of free college and that 2 years of free preschool, or even the 4 years of 4 years of free college that President Biden wants. He's starting with 2 years, but they can increase that to 4 years. They can do all these different stimulus items, these monthly checks for children through the child tax credits that they want to extend to more than just 2020. I'm sorry, it's passed just for this year in 2021. It's $250 to $300 per month per child. That's already passed. It's going to start sending out the checks in July. Okay. But they want to expand that for more years. And they also want a monthly stimulus check for this fourth stimulus check package. In fact, that monthly stimulus check idea, even if it's the $1,000 monthly stimulus check plan from the U.S. House of Representatives from the Democrats, either one of these monthly stimulus checks, which is in addition to the child tax credits that are monthly stimulus checks are already going out for the child tax credits, but they also want a fourth stimulus check for everybody that qualified, say, for the third stimulus check, to get monthly stimulus checks. And this is just growing and growing in support and momentum as the days are going by. So really, the Democrats, whether you're Republican or Democrat, doesn't really matter on which your side. The reality of it is the Democrats have this narrow window of opportunity of about the next year or so to get as much of their agenda, stimulus items, stimulus checks, child tax credits, Social Security increases, Medicare increases, and even tax increases. Remember, President Biden wanted to increase taxes before he even came into office. Just something that he wants to do. Before he even passed a single package, he wanted to raise taxes on the wealthy and taxes on corporations. Now, whether he's able to get that done is different story, as we've talked about on this channel, because even some Democrats aren't for this, okay? But there's other ways to get money, such as what we just talked about with the pharmaceutical companies. And also, there's about $1 trillion per year, every single year, that the IRS is owed to them, but they just don't collect it because people don't pay, or they don't really know about all the money that's owed to them, and they kind of need to dive deeper into tax returns to get it. But that's $1.5 trillion per year, every single year, that they could get without even raising taxes. So let me know your thoughts on this. But really, if they're going to pass these next two packages through the reconciliation process, and we're going to learn a lot more about that this week, if they can get Republican support or not. And if not, then it's kind of like, all right, back the truck up and open up the doors and let's slam as much stimulus items as we can in there, as long as we can get Democratic support, which means you can't go too crazy, because you got to get the Joe Manchins of the world, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. Being a Joe is kind of the new phrase on this channel. You got Joe Manchin, you still got to get the support of your own Democratic Party. Some of them are against these tax increases, and then you got some of them like Joe Manchin who are against kind of going too crazy on the stimulus spending or infrastructure spending even. But ultimately, in the end, good old Joe does end up voting with the Democrats, just like he did for the third stimulus check package. So they'll have to negotiate with them even down to the last day, like they had to last time around. And he'll kind of showboat and say, "Oh, I don't know about this and I don't know about that." But ultimately, he almost always ends up voting with the Democrats, and they may have to throw him an extra bone or an extra chicken wing, or whatever he wants behind closed doors. However he needs his palm greased. Unfortunately, that's probably the way it really works behind closed doors. Who really knows, right? I asked if I could get in behind these closed door meetings at the Senate, and I was like, "Hey, me and Chuck and me and Mitch, we talk every day. Like, let me in." And they're like, "Yeah, sorry, it's Jimmy. I know you just had 100 million views on your channel, but sorry, bro, we can't let you in." To our meeting. I'm like, come on, man. My viewers want to know what's going on behind closed doors, and yeah, they they just wouldn't let me in. So, but I do tend to get a lot of information from some sources that's kind of off the books. I get a lot of emails and I get a lot of information. I always have to vet it and stuff like that. But yeah, I do tend to get some. I'll call it off the books information, which is, and honestly, I like to praise myself a little bit in this area, because I like to praise myself that I'm almost always right on the stimulus talks and the stimulus negotiations. Not very often am I very wrong. And one of the most recent ones is that when some other people were saying that they can't pass another budgetary reconciliation process until October of this year, and I was like, I hate to tell you this, guys, but you're just completely flat out wrong. And then over the course of the next few weeks, everybody that was saying that kind of figured it out, and now they quietly don't talk about that anymore. And I was like, I tried to tell you guys, just listen to me here. I'm not wrong very often. In fact, I can't even. Let me know if you can think of anything major that I've been wrong about. But I kind of tell you guys the odds, how likely things are going to be, how likely things won't be, what they're talking about. Remember, momentum and push for these items is really how things get done. That's how the second stimulus check got done. It was literally added in 2 days before they passed it in the House. That bill came out, there was no check in there. They added it in 2 days before. That $10,200 tax break for unemployed people, which basically means the average person will get an extra $1,000 if they had unemployment income from last year. That was literally added in the day of they passed it in the Senate. In fact, it was part of the negotiations with Joe Manchin. I think what happened, this happened behind closed doors, but I think what happened is Joe Manchin said, I want to lower the income thresholds for stimulus checks. So they lowered it from 100,000 to 80,000 to get his vote. It starts reducing at 75,000 for an individual and completely cuts off at 80,000 instead of 100,000. But I think as part of those negotiations, they were like, okay, Joe, we'll do that, but in exchange, what about this new provision this $10,200 tax break for unemployed people, because they probably said, most unemployed people probably didn't save any money for taxes last year. They probably didn't even know they needed to, and they're going to have a tax bill to pay for this unemployment income if they didn't have enough money to withdraw. So they probably said behind closed doors, this, hey, Joe wants this lower income threshold for the stimulus checks. Okay, Joe, we'll give you that. You'll vote for us, right? Yeah. Okay, but what we want in return is we want this $10,200 extra stimulus clause, which was absolutely amazing for a lot of people. It was an extra $1,000 or $2,000 even in your pocket, and the IRS is sending those checks out now. In fact, let me know if you got your IRS refund for the $10,200 unemployment tax break. If you got it, it's supposed to start going out in May if you filed your stimulus, your tax return before they pass that package. Let me know if you got that. But that's what's going to happen is they're figuring out right now what to put in there, and then the negotiations are going to get real hot and heavy up until the day they pass it, and they can literally add things in or take things out literally up until the day they pass it. And then honestly, the Democrats are already talking about another package after that. So I'll keep you up to date with everything with stimulus and also what's going on with our country. Make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. Click the bell icon to all notifications after subscribing. Don't miss an episode. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date with everything. You can click this video to watch my newest video about the Social Security increases. Big news there. And you can watch this video from last night where my wife and my son appear at the end of the video if you want to see them and didn't get to see them last night. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.